Don't play with it, don't be dishonest. Still.
I know. Let me address the elephant in the room. My video consistency has not been great on both my YouTube and my TikTok. I apologize. I definitely will be getting more consistent with that. As for my TikTok, I'm hoping to post more consistent. I don't have a set schedule on that. As for YouTube, right now, I'm going back to my weekly posting. Kind of been doing every other week right now. Should be going back to weekly posting. I apologize for the inconvenience there. But, guys, a lot has happened since we talked last time. The playoffs are in full effect. We've seen so many teams already get eliminated. Everybody's favorite Boston Celtics has already been eliminated. The number 1 overall seed Cleveland Cavaliers have been eliminated. Golden State Warriors been eliminated. The Los Angeles Lakers have been eliminated. These playoffs have been absolutely insane. Anthony Edwards is on an absolute tear. Talk about taking down LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and now either the MVP in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and his team, or the frontrunner of the MVP in Nikola Jokic and his team. Crazy, but NBA playoffs, let's talk about it, okay? Okay, teams that are eliminated. Let's just talk about the teams that are eliminated, their performance, and then kind of my expectations for them coming into this next year. We're going to start on the Eastern Conference side. We're going to go over the teams that were eliminated. We're going to the West, and then we'll talk about the teams that are still in it and who I think is going to win it now, because obviously my prediction of Thunder over Celtics is no longer valid. It is still valid in the fact that the Thunder can win, but it's no longer valid that it's obviously going to be against the Celtics. So, let's talk about the Miami Heat. Kind of a Cinderella story run, honestly, for the Heat. They made the play-in as a 10 seed. They beat Atlanta in the first game, and then who was it that they beat? Chicago, I think, as well. Honestly, I didn't think Miami was going to make the postseason playoffs, especially with Jimmy leaving. This team, I think the biggest thing they can do is they wasn't really expecting to get past the first round, obviously, especially if you're playing against Cleveland. Your hope was that you could, you have a competent enough team that you didn't really want to get out the play-in and get that draft pick. So see how semi-competitive it was, see what Bam Adebayo can do for you on a team that doesn't include Jimmy Butler, and then obviously see what Tyler Hero can do. Going into this offseason, though, the Heat it's going to be interesting, because do you want to stick with your core of Bam and Tyler? Because now that, Jimmy Butler is not there, is that the core that you want to have? You have Jaime Jaquez as a kind of a trade bait. Giannis is in rumors right now. Devin Booker's going to be in rumors right now. Do you maybe go after a Giannis, a Devin Booker, maybe even a DeJounte Murray, depending on what his status is coming back with the Pelicans and everything like that? So as for I'm not really shocked they got eliminated from the playoffs already. I think it was very eventful to be in there, essentially, having won those 2 games, like I said, against the Hawks and the Bulls as the 10 seed coming in there. But I didn't expect them going too far. Kudos to the Heat for obviously making it, but I wasn't too shocked they went too far. And kind of same goes with the Magic. Magic were, I think, the best of the teams that were in the play-in altogether, at least on the Eastern Conference side. Obviously not in the Western Conference side. That would be in Golden State. But in the Eastern Conference side, the Magics probably were the best team play-in-wise, that for that. And they could have, on paper, they have a fun team when Jalen Suggs is healthy, when Franz Wagner's healthy, and when Paolo Banchero is healthy. That team's fun. And, we saw how successful they was earlier in the season. But, the Celtics were just such a dominant team. It have been such a dominant team all season, and the Magic haven't necessarily had their number. So was we really shocked by what happened there? Not really. Celtics on paper have been the best team all year. And the Magic definitely did not have enough to match up with them on paper. Then, this was my favorite series in the first round. The Knicks and the Pistons was such a fun series, okay? I don't know about you guys, but I was rooting for the Pistons. Detroit basketball has been so much fun to watch. Kate Cunningham is a dog, and I love watching him. But, it would have just been so cool to see Detroit, after having, one of the worst records in all of basketball last year, and then coming into the playoffs this year. It would have just been so cool to see them. And honestly, I think they could have, I truthfully think Detroit sold themselves in this game because they lost the series in 6. They should have won game 1. Quite frankly, you should have won game 1. You lose in the fourth quarter specifically, but you was up about 10 to 12 points all throughout the game, and then in the fourth quarter, New York went on to a 21-0 run, I think, and then it was like 24-6 altogether or something like that. The Knicks should have won game 1, obviously winning game 2. They honestly probably could have won game 3. Yeah, it was that. I'm pretty sure that was the bad inbound pass. I mean, there was only like a 6/10 of a second left on the clock, so probably wasn't going to get anywhere. But at least you have an opportunity, a try to do something. And then there was a horrible pass that Cade Cunningham couldn't even get to. But this series, I felt like Detroit could have won. Like they should. I think they should have won game 1. Kudos to the Knicks for just ultimately playing better defense and getting the runs ultimately they needed to. And king of the fourth quarter, no, not Kenny Beecham. We're talking about freaking Jalen Brunson here. It has been absolutely phenomenal. And then even in game 5, he was absolutely phenomenal. The Pistons made each game close. I think this was the tightest series within like all of the games because every game was a nail biter. Cade Cunningham played really well, but I also think he kind of exploited himself as someone who's been in the playoffs for the first time. This is a Pistons team that is very young. This is a Pistons team that doesn't have many guys with playoffs experience. Obviously, you have some veteran leadership of like a Tim Hardaway Jr. who has some playoff experience last year with Dallas, or a Malik Beasley who has some playoff experience with Minnesota and with LA. But outside of that, who you got Dennis Schroeder, who he's kind of bounced around in between some teams, but like and Tobias Harris, but outside of that, Cade Cunningham's never been there, Jalen Duran's never been there. So I was very impressed with how well this team played, but also very upset with how inconsistent this Detroit Pistons team played. They played very well considering they were the Pistons and playing up against the 3-seed Knicks. I honestly think they should have won this series. To me, they played better basketball, but they shot themselves in the foot. And because they were too inconsistent in just typical game itself, I think that's what lost them this series. I think they could have won this series. Obviously, I'm not out there playing basketball. I don't know at the end of the day. But if you ask me, I think the Pistons played better basketball than the Knicks. The Knicks just happened to get lucky and then have that star power of a Jalen Brunson on your team, have the star power of bigger size with the Karl Anthony Towns and with the Josh Hart. Even though he's undersized as a forward, he plays like a really, really good forward, like a kind of dominant Draymond Green out there. Is kind of what he reminds me of, except obviously not as temperamental. I don't know, just crazy. This Knicks and Pistons series was super fun, even up into this last game. When the Knicks won 116 to 113, I was very impressed with the way that the Pistons played. I think they honestly played better, but I just think the Knicks got lucky. A very, very fun series. Like I said, I think this was the funnest series, best series in all of basketball thus far. First round and second round. I mean, obviously, we've had some good games in this first and second round with the Nuggets and the Thunder. That's the only teams who haven't advanced yet, because we know it's Tyrese Halliburton and the Pacers. We know it's Jalen Brunson and the Knicks, and then we know it's Ant-Man and the Timberwolves. We just don't know if it's going to be MVP Shea or if it's going to be MVP frontrunner Nikola Jokic. Regardless, somebody new is going to win a ring this year, unless it's Jokic. But if it's Jokic, that means Russ wins a ring, Shea wins a ring, Ant wins a ring, or Tyrese wins a ring. So at least somebody new is winning a ring here, right? Anyhow, going back to this though, outside of this Nuggets and Thunder series, I would say the Knicks and Pistons series was the best, or is the best, because those games were fire. And the Nuggets and Thunder, even though the series is going to 7, the games have kind of game 1 was a good game. Game 2 was a blowout by the Thunder. Then there was game 3, which the Nuggets won, and then game 4, 5, the Thunder came back and won those games. And I'm just it's been a good series, obviously, fine back and forth. But the Knicks and the Pistons games were down to the wire, teeth scratching, nail biting to the end. So really fun series. I enjoyed that one. Was hoping the Pistons would advance, but like I said, not upset that the Knicks advanced. Then obviously the Pacers and the Bucks. It sucks for Dame, obviously, first and foremost, having to deal with his shoulder and the injury of that, and then coming back and being able to play with that shoulder and with his health, and then, the Achilles tear going on. That really sucks for Dame, and especially the fact that now it's not something that he can't, with his shoulder and whatever, he could have just fully recovered through offseason, and then he comes back fully healthy, ready next season. He's not going to be ready by the start of next season. Now he's going to have to be similarly to now Kyrie Irving, also now Jason Tatum, who they're going to have to be recovering. Last time we saw this, we saw it with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant took 18 months to recover. So what's that going to say for the league if we don't see a Kyrie Irving, if we don't see a Jason Tatum, and if we don't see what's that say for the league if we don't see Kyrie Irving, if we don't see Jason Tatum, if we don't see Damian Lillard in the league for half the year, if not the entire year, because of that so that's going to be something. But the Pacers, and altogether the Pacers, this entire playoff series, even against the Cavaliers, have played a really good ball. I think they've played the best basketball in this entire postseason run. Outside of all the teams, I think the Pacers have played the best ball. You played against Giannis, and you had to play against Dame, the size of Giannis, and you still was able to overcome him. You beat him in 5, and then you go and you beat Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and Evan Mobley in 5. Granted, now I understand Evan Mobley and Darius Garland haven't played in every game, and Donovan Mitchell has, but still, this Pacers team came out to play, and that's a team that the Cavaliers in both Game 1 and 2 came out to a hot start. Pretty sure was leading by 16 points in Game 1 and somewhat like 12 or 14 in Game 2. Then Indiana came back and won both games when Cleveland kind of had control, especially in that second game where Indiana had already came back and took in that Game 1. Cleveland had Game 2, especially because Garland and Mobley wasn't playing and stuff like that, and then they blew it. So I've been very impressed with Indiana and how well they've played, and I think I got Indiana. Okay, I'll talk about, actually, I'll get there in a second. Let me not get ahead of myself. Then let's talk about Boston and New York. Holy cow, Boston. Boston looked like trash. Obviously, I was super excited for this series, and I thought Boston was going to win the series, especially considering how poorly the Knicks played against Boston in the regular season. And we saw this early throughout the game. The Knicks got off to a horrible start. Boston couldn't miss a shot. Boston got up to a quick 14-point lead, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of the basketball that I expected from the Celtics. I'm like, the Knicks haven't been playing good basketball, and they haven't played good basketball against teams with winning records. I'm like, they just struggled against the Detroit Pistons, and I'm like, okay, I get it, Detroit has Kate Cunningham, but at the end of the day, this is the Detroit Pistons we're talking about. If you're struggling against Detroit, how are you going to play against Milwaukee? How are you going to play against Indiana? How are you going to play against Cleveland? How are you going to play against Boston? That's what I was asking myself. I'm like, if you struggle against Detroit, I'm like, there's no way in hell you're going to be able to play good basketball against any other team. And especially Boston, Boston's had their number all year this year. And then Boston just blew it. Like for, what was it, third quarter, fourth quarter? Slowly, here comes New York. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, it's getting there, but I'm like, Boston's not going to blow this. Boston did indeed blow it. And then Game 2, same shit, different day. Boston had the opportunity to close the game out. They had the lead. They had a 16-point lead early throughout the game, and they couldn't find a way to close the game. New York comes back. And then in Game 3, when, everything is on the, Boston finally gets their win. And then in Game 4, when you're trying to catch momentum back, Tatum's having arguably one of his greatest Celtics games in playoff history. And then he tears his Achilles. And then now New York goes up 3-1. And now Boston's like, okay, well, what the fuck do we do now? Because now here's what's going on in Boston. Jaylen Brown now has to lead a team he's been overvalued but undervalued his entire career, because he's been overvalued for the fact that he won Finals MVP last year, but he's been undervalued for the fact that Jason Tatum's been on the team, and Jason Tatum is that 1A go-to type of star, and Tatum's the 1B type of star, but can Brown be that 1A type of star? So now we're like, okay, well, let's actually just see what Jaylen Brown by himself can do with the Celtics. Played a decent Game 6. I'll give it to her Game 5, pardon me. But he wasn't much. And now the Celtics have to ask themselves, is Tatum our guy? Which I'm assuming he is. Okay, so is Tatum and Brown our guy? And do we trade Holiday? Do we trade Porzingis and maybe even White away? Or is Tatum our guy, White's our guy, and then we trade Brown away, get as much capital out of him while we can, trade Holiday and trade Porzingis? Horford's probably going to retire. So now Boston's in a really big buttfuckle of Tatum's going to be out, if not all of next year. Do you have Brown lead your team next year? Horford probably won't play next year. Do you trade Porzingis? And also, why the heck did Joe Mazzulla in Game 6 just decide that Kristaps Porzingis couldn't play basketball? He brought him off the bench, which to me made no sense. I felt like they could have had the size advantage on the Knicks specifically. I don't know why you wish to bring him off the bench. It clearly didn't work out, but I mean, Joe Mazzulla probably knows a little bit more better ball than I do, so let me not talk too much there. But I did find that interesting, but I do wonder what Boston's going to do with Porzingis now. Do you trade Porzingis? Because he's in his 30s now, he's aging, his contract, you're going to be over the second apron with this new CBA and everything, so you obviously can't keep Porzingis, you can't keep Brown, you can't keep Tatum, you can't keep White, and all of these guys, so you have to choose. And Holiday, I think what happens is I think they keep Holiday, I think they obviously will keep Tatum, and they'll keep White. And then I think they trade Brown and you trade Porzingis. I think Holiday has been too much of offensive help for them, and between him and White, they can guard their guy's best defense player no matter what, even at his age now. And I think that's way too important for Boston, where White and Holiday can be those scorers, and they can get probably a score out of a trade for a Jaylen Brown when you do so, and that person can keep it afloat till a Jason Tatum gets back. And then when Jason Tatum leads that team by himself, and then you have the defense and the consistency that a Jaylen Brown, or sorry, not a Jaylen Brown, but that a Derek White and that a Drew Holiday can give you, you go for that? Probably. I mean, that's probably what Boston's going to do. That's what I would assume. But I mean, you also could trade Drew Holiday and you keep Jaylen Brown and say, hey, Jaylen Brown, Celtics, this is your team now. And then you trade Drew Holiday, you trade Kristaps Porzingis, and maybe you sit Derek White down. You say, hey, Derek White, what's your market? What can we get off you? Or do you say, no, you know what? It's best we just keep you. It does suck for the Celtics being able to not go back-to-back, obviously. But, the Celtics, at the end of the day, ultimately got the goal. They won the championship last year. They made a roster around Jason Tatum to do so. It's so hard to go back-to-back. And I think Joe Mazzulla is going to get a lot of criticisms for that, He's going to get similarities to being like Doc Rivers, where he's a really good in-season, regular season head coach, but come playoff time, he doesn't really know how to coach and has these struggles. Well, come playoff time, everybody's going to be playing their best basketball. They're going to, the intensity is so much higher. And obviously, yes, you want to perform better, but everybody's going to have expectations is going to be a lot higher too. So I can't necessarily fault Joe Mazzulla for that, especially considering who he playing the Magic in the first round, then playing the Knicks. Yes, on paper, you should have beat the Knicks, and on paper, you had the Knicks number all year. But if we go based off matchups, the Knicks were probably, they wanted Boston. They match up really well against Boston. Jalen Brunson, yes, arguably Derek White or Drew Holiday, one of the best defenders in the league, can guard him, and that's probably who you want guarding Jalen Brunson. But Jalen Brunson is just so damn good, especially in the fourth quarter. He doesn't really care who the fuck is guarding him because he's going to ball out anyway. OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, practically the same player, just looking in a mirror. Josh Hart doing Josh Hart things. I mean, and then Cat goes great up against whoever you have in Al Horford or Porzingis. So matchup-wise, I don't hate this for New York, and I thought, honestly, coming in earlier into the season, that it would have benefited New York, and then in Game 1, obviously, getting blown out and all this stuff, I thought they would have used their size to their advantage, but Boston used the pace and the momentum to their advantage. But then in the playoffs, and I don't know, maybe it was because New York has seen him 4 times in the regular season, and they got shit on him 4 times, that they kind of knew what to do here. But I don't know. But it was definitely an interesting series for Boston. I think Boston, outside of not being able to hit a 3 and shooting horrendously like myself, I could have shot better out there, and I mean that. Joe Mazzulla, hit my lineup. I will come shoot for you. But let's go. Base hit. Braves Red Sox game just started. Verdugo back in Boston, by the way. Leadoff single. Let's go. Yes, sir. Anyhow, Knicks and Celtics, though. And I'll be honest, last thing I'll say on this is a tough one because I hate the Knicks, but I don't have a reason for it to hate the Knicks. I just hate the Knicks because they're the Knicks. That's literally my entire reasoning to hate the Knicks. I don't hate Jalen Brunson. I just hate how successful he is, but that's just me being a hater, so I have no valid reason for why I don't like Jalen Brunson. I absolutely love Josh Hart. He's great. Ooh, is that up the middle? Oh. He's safe. Let's go, boys! Okay, sorry. Anyhow, as I was saying, what was I saying? Oh, that's what I was saying. Josh Hart. I mean, I love Josh Hart. He's a great guy. OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges practically the same person. I love Big Cat, Big Purr. I loved him in Minnesota. I loved the characters they were, and like the bonding they had. So obviously it sucked to see him go, but he's been really good in New York, and I'm a big fan of Cat. So obviously I love that. But like the Knicks are a team that I'm just like, I don't know. I don't hate, and like I don't hate Brunson, I don't hate Cat, but I didn't want to see that team succeed. And then I'm not a big fan of Boston. Like I really like Jaylen Brown, I really like Derek White, but I'm not like a huge fan of Boston, and I didn't want to see Boston repeat. Just because I don't want to see someone succeed. Just kidding, not really. But it was super interesting though, because I'm just like that ball gone? No, it's a foul ball. But I'm just like, I would have much rather seen Boston be more successful. And I think it's ultimately because it would have came down to, it would have probably put a Boston and Cleveland championship series, and that would have been more entertaining than a Knicks Pacers. So I think that's what it ultimately comes down to. But I will say, it's so crazy how Boston and Cleveland played so well all throughout the entire season, right? And now Boston's eliminated, Cleveland's eliminated, and you got Indiana and New York in the conference semifinals, or not conference semifinals, in the championship series, the finals, conference finals. Pardon me. You got the Knicks and the Pacers in the conference finals, though, and I quite frankly, I don't mind who wins. I got the Pacers coming out of there, but I'm not going to be mad if the Knicks come out of there. The Pacers, I just think they've played so much better basketball, playing against the Cavs, playing against Donovan Mitchell. The Knicks are a better, well-rounded team, though. I'm excited to watch the pace of this game, but I think the Knicks on paper have the better-rounded team. But it'll be interesting. But I don't think a lot of people would have had the Knicks and the Pacers advancing, and the Celtics and the Cavaliers losing. All right, let's go over to the Western Conference side of things. The Thunder have been playing really good ball. I mean, demolished the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies played really bad ball outside of the third game when they was up by 21 and looked really good. And then John Morant decided to try to jump over someone and injured himself. That was a mistake. But Thunder have looked really good. They played well against the Nuggets, too. I think the Nuggets are going to be the hardest team that the Thunder face in this playoff series. So I think if they can beat Denver, I think they'll go on to beat everybody, because I think Denver is going to be the hardest team they can beat here. Obviously, Minnesota is a good team that they can play against, but I think they're much better than Minnesota. They're much better than New York, and they're much better than Indiana. So I think if they can get through Denver, I think it's a pretty much cakewalk to the championship. But we will see. And this series against the Nuggets has been interesting, because game one, you played a pretty decent game. The Nuggets kind of stole that game from you. Game two, obviously you came out, made a statement game, winning by as much as you did. And I think it's kind of like been a really good series games for, like, this is the Nuggets we're talking about. They're a really good team. But, like, the only thing that makes it tough is all these, like, it's not like the Knicks and the Pistons series where all the games were close or something. No, like when one team wins, it's kind of a blowout, or it's kind of one team is just making a statement and letting them know. It's not like, okay, we barely won, or we're winning with authority. We're winning with a lot of. So I don't know. I do. Oh, let's go, Baldwin. Come on. Score two. Oh, stay. Good, Colt. Good old. We only got one. RBI, Drake Baldwin should win Rookie of the Year for baseball, by the way. Just saying. But anyhow, this Nuggets and Thunder series, though, I think the winner of this series is going to come out to win the championship, honestly. The best player, regardless, is in this series. It's either Shea or it's Jokic. Those are the two best players in the league. One of those players, whatever player comes out there is the best player in the league that needs to win the championship. Now, personally, I want to see Ant win the championship. The Timberwolves are my favorite team right now. Obviously, I'm a Jazz fan, but the Timberwolves are my favorite team that's in there. I love Ant-Man. He's one of my favorite players in the league. To see him doing what he's doing at such a young age, to see him eliminate LeBron and Luka this year, and see what he's done this year. And then he eliminated Kevin Durant and Devin Booker last year. He eliminated Jimmy Butler. And I can't really say Steph Curry because Steph didn't really play, but he technically did eliminate Steph as well. And the fact that he can eliminate either the MVP candidate Shea or the frontrunner Jokic, assuming he does, what a legendary run, brother. Like, put him in the Hall of Fame right now. Just saying. But Timberwolves, I think, have a chance to do a lot. But I do think it will be the Nuggets or the Thunder. Whatever team wins this series, I think is ultimately going to win it. But I wouldn't be opposed if the Timberwolves won it. Also, really quickly, would a fun finals be Timberwolves and the Knicks? It's the big blockbuster trade at the beginning of the season before training camp where the Knicks sent Julius Randle to the Timberwolves and Dante DiVincenzo, obviously, for Karl Anthony Towns. Both those teams went out, come out on top. We got Cat in the finals with New York and Julius Randle as the new second coming with Anthony Edwards. Like, wouldn't that be a fire matchup? Just saying. That's kind of the matchup I want to see. But we'll see. Get through, Michael? Run. All right, we got 2 rounds. Anyhow, Nuggets and the Clippers. That was interesting. That was a fun series too, but it was always a back and forth. It was either good game, bad game, blowout. Like that's how it was a good game, blowout. That's how I felt like it was. Game 1 was a good game. Game 2, I just felt like it was either like there was some good games, like probably Clippers should have won game 1. Nuggets made a comeback in game 2, but then there was just a couple where either the Nuggets won so convincingly or the Clippers won so convincingly. I will say Kawhi Leonard looks so good, and it did suck to see him get eliminated for the playoffs, especially for the year he had, not playing the entire season, but also ultimately getting fully healthy, not playing for Team USA earlier in the year and all this stuff to get fully healthy. So it does suck for Leonard, but it was also good to see how outside of James Harden, how good LA played. It was good to see that. I'm excited to see, because honestly, I didn't see LA beating Denver, but LA somehow all throughout the year with no 1A star player. Obviously James Harden and Kawhi Leonard is good, but they're past their prime. They're not as good as they used to be, and they've still been popping out. So I gotta shout out LA in that sense. The Timberwolves and the Lakers series, Ant-Man, Batman, Superman, Lakers in 5. That's what Shannon was saying. That's what everybody was saying. But Ant just simply doesn't give a fuck, as Hugh says, and he let LeBron Bond and Luka have it, bro. And I love this. I had the Timberwolves winning that series too. I'm like, the Lakers are a good team, but I'm like, they're gonna get exposed. And it was good to see the Timberwolves, and specifically Rudy Gobert, being on the side of being the exposer instead of being the exposed, because usually the Timberwolves, or Rudy Gobert specifically, gets exposed in the playoffs because he can't play defense, even though he's been a 4-time defensive player of the year. But, because he can't play defense on the perimeter or guard like a Luka Doncic or something like this. So it was good to see Rudy realize, hey, Lakers don't got a big man. Let me go fucking crazy. Let me get a double-double and let me send LeBron to Cancun. That's what he did. And like I said, I love Ant. He's an absolute... Go foul? Okay, it is foul. But I love Ant. He's an absolute dog. Love to see, like I said, and his run, especially this year compared to last year. If he can do that, Ant has already cemented himself as one of the greatest of all time. And then the Warriors and the Rockets. This was a disappointing series for me for the Rockets. The Warriors played really good. Shout out Jimmy Butler. Shout out Steph Curry, obviously. But I was very... And I guess it kind of made sense. It kind of reminded me of the Thunder team last year. The Thunder being the 1 seed last year and being the youngest team in all of basketball to make the playoffs and then be a 1 seed, right? So I was a little disappointed with how inefficient the Rockets were playing. But then I can remember, hey, they're a young team. Fred VanVleet and Jeff Green are the only veteran presence on that team. And the Warriors have Jimmy Butler. They got Draymond Green. They got Steph Curry. All this other stuff who's had so much experience. They might be a little bit more than the Rockets in that poised than the Rockets in that sense. So I just was like, I wanted to see Jabari Smith. I love Jabari Smith. And then Jalen Green just be more successful. But shout out Steve Kerr. Shout out the Golden State Warriors, obviously. And then the T-Wolves and Warriors series was fun too. One of the few with the Timberwolves as a 6 seed had home field advantage. Funny enough, crazy how that works, right? But I mean, Warriors won game 1, and I was like, okay, Ant, you gotta show the world what's up. And then obviously Curry went out with his injury, and Jimmy Butler couldn't hold the line. And Timberwolves are scary. Let me tell you, Timberwolves are scary because it's just Ant. Like obviously Jalen McDaniels has been playing really well, and Gobert's defense has been pretty good. But like, if you look at the Thunder, you have your 1A type of player of Shea, right? And then you got your 1B or your go-to B secondary player in a Jalen Williams. And then you have Chet and Ihart as your bigs. You have your defense, and that's kind of like your rhythm as what moments you to go so much. But with this Timberwolves team, you have Ant as your 1A. Then what? Julius Randle is your 1B, your secondary go-to person, okay? Your defense isn't as good as Minnesota in this sense. So, like, I don't know. There we go, boys. Nice. I find it interesting, though. Like I said, I want to see the Timberwolves go so far and see how successful they can be. But it's going to be so hard to come out of and beat whatever team. The Nuggets or the Thunder. The Thunder being the team that they are, running with the pace they do, running with the players they have, the size they have, specifically the size they're going to have against Minnesota, and then having that player. And then if it's Denver, I mean, Jokic. Who the fuck can cope against Jokic? It's Jokic we're talking about at the end of the day. But that's all I got really for you guys today. I know, like I said, I haven't been as consistent as I want to be. I apologize. I did want to come and talk some hoops, though, today because these NBA playoffs have been wild. Like I said, the fact that the Heat made, the play-in and advanced as a 10 seed was pretty crazy. The fact the Cavaliers and the Celtics, the two best teams in the East all year, the teams that were supposed to be in the conference finals playing against each other, didn't even make it there. Both of those teams eliminated. Tyrese Halliburton and his dad, low-key, be going crazy, but we'll see how far Tyrese Halliburton can go. The Knicks are doing really good things. I love to see what the Knicks are doing. Obviously, Thunder Nuggets Game 7 is going to be interesting. As I'm recording that, Game 7 is tonight. I got the Thunder, so let's hope I can come back and clip this as a smart, successful thing and not the Nuggets win and you guys clap at me for that, because that also could happen. Timberwolves have played phenomenal basketball. Ant Edwards is, I think, the best player in all of basketball right now, and he's been going crazy. I'd love to see how far he goes. But I'll leave it with this: is the Thunder win? Okay. That ball's demolished straight to the glove. Let's go, boys. Big boys. That ball was hit hard though. Anyhow, I'll leave you with what I want, what I think, and then just a fuck it one, right? Okay. What I want is I want it to be Oklahoma and Indiana. As for why I don't want the Knicks in there, I have no reason. It's just because like I said, fuck the Knicks for no reason. It's like fuck Trae Young, I don't know. The Knicks and the Thunder would be a fun series, and I think on paper that'd be fun. But like the Pacers, the reason I want it to be the Pacers and the Thunder is because the pace. The Pacers and the Thunder play with two of the fastest paces in the league. That I would love to see the game itself, because I think it's going to be such a fast-paced game. But I would also love to see like Jalen Brunson and Cat versus Shea and J-Dub. A fun one, and as I mentioned this earlier, would be the Timberwolves and the Knicks for the reasons of the big-time trade, for the reason of Ant versus Cat, and then Julius Randle versus the Knicks. That would also be fun. Watch it, though, be the Nuggets and the Knicks. That's kind of my fuck it, whatever. If the Nuggets win this series, and then they go on to beat the T-Wolves, and then the Knicks advance, and then it'd be the Nuggets and the Knicks. I mean, Rick Adelman has been doing a really good job since he took over coaching Denver. Jokic is obviously doing Jokic things, and Jamal Murray's been picking it up, especially in the postseason, as he always does. So you can't count out the Nuggets. And like I said, I think this is like the finals matchup, but essentially between these two teams, these are the hardest teams they're going to face. So any other teams they see after this, I think is going to be a slight cakewalk. But NBA playoffs have been absolutely insane. I cannot wait for Game 7 tonight. I cannot wait for the conference finals of these series. And I am so excited that the Braves are finally back above 500. Really quick note, because I'm watching the game as we're doing this and we're up 2-0. Ronald Acuna Jr. is back almost. He's made a couple rehab starts. He's hit a couple dingers, hit a couple doubles, hit a couple singles. Spencer Strider's feeling good. He's almost back. That means the Braves are going to be above 500, have Ronald Acuna Jr. back, and Spencer Strider. Oh my goodness, baseball's here, and I'm excited about it again. Alrighty, let me chill, let me slow down, and let me stop acting a little too sus. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining the Yap session of the NBA playoffs. I will see y'all next time.